Hey, what's going on, everybody? You're listening to Marrio Esco Live, where we like to interview people who are actively serving the community, share testimonies, music videos, exclusive updates and announcements, and really we just want to utilize the platform to encourage, edify, challenge if necessary as we go over various topics and subjects. We're not perfect and we don't have all the answers, but we're firm believers in iron sharpening iron, and we really just want to build and edify together. So with that said, I hope you're blessed and enjoy the show. Grace and peace. Yo, what up, everybody? This is your host, Marrio Esco, and alongside me is my good friend and co-host, Gil Vargas.
What's going on, everybody?
What up? Gil, how you doing, bro, before we jump in, man?
I'm good, man. I'm just a little tired. I'm in the moving process right now, so It's been kind of hectic, but we put in work, and little by little, we're almost done. Should be finishing it out this Saturday.
Dope. And, yeah, man, that was a fun time, man. I went out there and helped you out as well.
Yeah, Mario
and you
came
disappeared
out
for like 2 hours. It was the weirdest move I ever did. I hung out with the fellas while you took off. Came back with a full truck.
You showed up after the first load was unloaded, so we went to go get the second load. So I was like, it don't make no point of all of us driving.
You don't gotta
together.
Explain it, man.
So I'm like, yo, just chill with the fellas. So I felt I was doing a solid, I guess.
So listen, everybody jumping in right now. Just to recap on last week, we did say that we wanted to make some changes with the show. Last week was sort of the announcement of us making that change and shifting gears, and me and Gil were talking about it. If you are just joining us in the podcast or the live show, because we're on live as well, previously when we started the show, this is what episode now I'm doing episodes, I guess. This is what episode 7. All right, episode 7.
Yeah.
All right, so previously what we were doing was we were interviewing people, but now after talking about it, and shout out to all the interviewees, it had nothing to do with them. Their stories were amazing, and they were really, I highly recommend go back and listen to them. They share their testimonies, powerful testimonies, and it was a blessing. But like we were talking, we were talking about trying to improve the show and what we could do to make it more of an interactive feel.
Yeah, we just wanted to have the people more involved.
What up, Sam? What's going on, brother?
Samuel. And just having the guests only didn't allow us to connect with you guys. So, we just want to make this more about you guys. And we're still going to invite guests, but it's going to be more related to whatever we're talking about.
Right. Yeah. So we wanted to be more about specific topics that we're passionate about. We're Christian creatives, and we wanted to talk about the things that we would like to, for people to talk about, and that we don't see people covering. So we decided to go ahead and take it upon ourselves and make that happen. And so far, last week when we did it, there was a lot of interaction back and forth, a lot of people hopping in, so that was dope, and a lot of good feedback afterwards. We appreciate that. So and as we go along, we want to continue to improve the show. Stick around because we have a very interesting guests coming in. I can't say anything because Gil doesn't know.
How's this? I'm co-host, and I don't know stuff that's happening on the show.
What up, Antonio?
I still feel some type of way about that, but
Yeah, so definitely stick around. You a CHH fan. If you're a Reform fan, we have a guest coming in later to talk about something, a specific topic we'll talk about later. But today what we're talking about first is the title. The reason why we're jumping on this episode today, what we're talking about specifically today, is studying secular art. That's what I want to jump in for today.
It's a very tricky subject.
It is tricky.
Because, as Christians, we automatically want to be separate from the world, which we are.
Right.
But now we're talking about how do we navigate in the secular space, and can we benefit from the secular space?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to try to decipher, and I would love for you guys to chime in and put your comments. That's why I have this laptop. Mario is the controller. He controls everything you guys see, hear, all that. But what I do here is I connect with you guys. I tell Marrio when people comment, and we can like work this out together. So we're here to listen to you guys also. So if you guys have a question, something's not clear, you want us to repeat something, whatever, let us know.
So cool. So yeah, like I said, today is studying secular art. So the first thing that we would like to clarify, because everybody has a different way to define certain words. So I want to make sure that we understand, what we mean when we say secular. And that's what we're going with. Sorry, I see some glitching happening in my computer. My bad. I'm just making sure everything's running right. So Gil, why don't you define that for us, man? When you think of secular, what do you think?
I think of the world, and the fallenness of the world and how corrupt it is. I mean, when I think of the word secular, at least that's what comes to mind. Just complete separation from God. Yeah,
so when I think of secular, I'm thinking for me I'm thinking anything that's non-religious, right? Anything that's not explicitly talking about Christ or religion in any kind of way. That's how I would define it in a very, simplistic way. Yeah, exactly. So for me, secular is anything that's not religious or not explicitly talking about Christ or anything like that. So what do you think as far as that definition? Like, would you go for that?
Yeah, I would.
It doesn't
agree.
necessarily mean that it's sinful.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have some secular art that we can enjoy.
Yeah.
Like
going to a museum, and looking at paintings.
Or even musically, I'm saying.
Or music, or, and it could be anything, really.
So when you define it in that way, what we're talking about specifically is studying. What we're talking about specific, not even recreationally, just as Christian creatives, and this can apply to any kind of art. We're talking about just studying it, and is it sinful for you to study the art and apply it to yourself? Because you have certain people out there that would say flat out no. People would say no, you can't even listen to that. What would you say to that? Like if somebody told you like, well, I know for you, come on, man, liven up.
Well, liven up, bro. I need to get like the context of your question.
Wake up.
Like, what are you really asking me? Like,
okay, for your situation, Mom Dukes.
Okay.
I love you. Shout out to Mom Dukes.
Yep.
But I remember a time, and this is not to knock her in any kind of way.
I know.
But I remember a time where you were told you can't even go to the movies and sit down and watch a movie. Why?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
I mean, a lot of that also, just to add, was a lot of poor understanding of scripture. And the reason why I say that is because the scripture she always used was to stay away from seats of the flesh. The scripture that talks about,
scoffers, the seed of the scoffers.
Yes, which in context of that is really people who are speaking against the faith. So don't be in places where they're mocking Christians or really, straight up persecuting Christians, and being there like in a place of like an agreement. Going to the movies has nothing to do with making fun of Christians or anything like that. So it was just a miscommunication on
a misunderstanding of the scripture.
Yeah, of the scripture.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. Like you can't go to the movies because you sit in the
seat of scoffers.
Of scoffers. Yeah.
So you can't sit down
and
in
watch
the movie theater and watch this.
Exactly. So as I got older, I started, questioning these things. Like, why is it that I can't do these certain things? And it didn't make sense because the way she was using it is like it's a worldly seat.
Right.
So then what about buses? What about school? Like, these are all seats of the flesh because they weren't made by Christians.
Yeah.
They were made to worship.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It wasn't made to do anything to do with God. It was completely secular.
Yeah.
But yet it was cool to do school. It was cool to go on a bus. It was cool to sit in these secular places.
Right.
But the movies was not.
Right.
And it could have been a love movie. Didn't have to be violent.
Or what about like a Christian movie?
Or even a Christian movie. Nope. Theater. It's a theater.
Wow.
Can't be seen in the theater because that might tarnish your reputation as a Christian. So, you know what I mean? Like,
so applying, like, okay, first of all, explain that now.
Explain that now. Like,
yeah,
how?
in a biblical sense, like in your
my own
mature
perspective?
understanding now.
Now.
Yeah. I mean, this is an obvious thing, but still, because certain people, when we're talking about studying secular art, there are certain people that over spiritualize this.
Facts.
Right? They say there's power in your words, which to a certain extent there is influence in your words. Even the Bible talks about the tongue being like a flaming sword that can't be tamed.
Flaming darts.
There you go. Yeah, that can't be tamed, right? So in a sense, yes, your words, like, you could build up or break down. But certain people kind of over spiritualize that when it comes to secular art, specifically music, or even
as if like the words can like float and
almost like curse you or something.
Yeah, and enter your heart and corrupt you and stuff like that. Like,
when we know that our hearts are wicked and deceitful above all things, so the first thing we need to check is our own heart and our own motive. Yeah. Right?
I 100% agree. And that's like the first thing that I ask anybody who is using or experimenting or listening or whatever with anything secular. I ask, just make sure your heart and your motive
when it
is
comes
pure.
to motive.
It's all about motive, because for a perfect example, I would use a cup with my mom, as basic as you can possibly go. A cup in and of itself is not sinful. It's just a cup. But if I use this cup to get crazy plastered drunk, now does it mean now it's sinful? Like, now a Christian can't use a cup because I've tarnished the use of this cup? Right. Can't drink water, can't drink juice. Nope, you can't do any of that because I used it to get drunk.
Right.
And that's the same thing. Just because the world takes something and corrupts it in a way, that doesn't necessarily mean that now that thing is cursed. Nope, done. It's X'd out. You can never use that thing because the world took it and, mess with it.
Right.
I mean, the devil can't create. Only God can create. So that's why I'm like, it's hard for me to understand how people.
Well, I guess the concern is that the devil can influence. I guess that's the concern.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He can manipulate. You know what I'm saying? He can do those things. He can try to manipulate things, but he can't create. So when people are like, that is music of the devil, or that is of the devil, like, he has no ownership or anything to anything in this world. It's all God's. It's just, he puts his influences and these things become bad. But that's where our discernment comes into play.
Right. So you're saying spiritually, you're talking about where the motive of that thing is. Right. That's what you're talking about spiritually.
Exactly.
The motive spiritually of what's happening. Like, is it driven by sinful motives? Most of the secular, when we're talking about hip hop, the majority of the secular art is driven by sinful motive.
Explain.
Well, I'm saying most. So, like, the world would love the rap beefs, people going at it. The world loves the controversy, the gossip, the slander. The world loves these things and celebrates these things, and they want to see people just go at it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So most of that is driven, like, in the hip hop culture, like, a lot of that is driven by those kinds of things. Even though some stuff, like, you can listen to and you can understand the motives of what somebody's really trying to communicate, and it's actually like a positive thing. You know what I mean? Even though it's driven by a sinful motive, they're still trying to tackle an issue that they see. Although it's not coming at it in a biblical sense, obviously, but it's still coming at it in a more what's the word I'm looking for? Like, when I say positive, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like their spin on it?
No, like their motive to create the art, to put the art out. Like, they want to address certain issues. Like, they're looking at more moralistic.
Yes.
It's a moralistic approach. You know what I'm saying? And so, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the stuff that we're listening to is completely, is going to come into our heart and influence us in a way that just completely makes us walk away from the faith.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Or completely, like, put a curse on us, or whatever the case may be. I do agree that it does influence you to a certain extent, but I'm talking spiritually. Like, they over spiritualize.
Falls into the motive, though.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, let's say, let's forget music. If you are aspiring to be an artist and you want to be the best artist you can be, is it not wise to study other artists?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can't be so biased to say, I want to only study artists that draw the same exact things that I draw.
Here's the thing.
So to me, yeah, you want to study everyone.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. So we got to keep in mind that when you're talking about, the music industry, just in general, right? The music industry, you're talking about people that are dropping hundreds and thousands up to millions of dollars investing in the top-notch production studio, the best gear, the best engineer, the best music producer. Sometimes musicians come in and they pay for the musicians to come in, and the marketing and the promotion and the videos and so on and so forth. Like, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars that they're investing in this. So wouldn't it be wise to study the professionals?
Yeah.
That are doing this full time, that are this is their full time job. This is their career, their profession. They're the specialists. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't it be wise for an artist to study the specialists, the ones that are successful at what they do, as far as the technical side of things and the creative side of things when it comes to like different effects or whatever, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that, or the way that you even sound. Now, I'm not saying that it's wise to study with an ear that just accepts the message and you're kind of influenced by the message. But I think it's wise to study, the people that are successful at what they're doing in order to learn those strategies and techniques to better your craft at whatever it is that you do. Now, I'm an audio engineer as well. So when I listen to music, I'm listening to the mix, I'm listening to the master, I'm listening to the effects, the way that they use the compression. I'm like critiquing everything. It's like a free class for me. And then my job is to reverse engineer what they just created. That's why I study, secular hip hop. That's why I'm studying it for
many
that.
would say, why don't you study Christian hip hop the same way?
Well, because a lot of us don't have those kinds of budgets.
That's true.
A lot of us don't have them kind of investments. Like, these people are really like, and now the art itself, like, a lot of people would say the art is trash, and I agree with a lot of the stuff. Like, yeah, it is kind of trash.
The content, yeah, the content.
The content, of course, like the content is not. So I guess for, like, let's say a young Christian rapper or a young Christian singer, what would you tell that young man if he's like, yo, I'm listening to Eminem, I'm listening to all these cats, Lil Pump and all these cats? What would you tell him? And he's saying to you, yo, but I'm just studying it to get better at my craft. What would you say?
I would just say, hey, man, I see where you're going with it. Just practice discernment and just make sure that you don't get caught up in what their message is and what they're trying to portray, right. Their motive. Like, you can clearly see in their lyrics what their motives are. So just as long as you don't align yourself with that stuff and you're just purely studying the art for what it is, which is art, you know what I mean? Then, hey, man, I hope that it, gets you better. I hope that it improves you and things like that. But if he's like, yo, I love this dudes, I love the message, like everything they're about, then that would be a totally different conversation, because, I mean, secular art is not about anything but self-glorification. Right. So it's just coaching him and making sure that his head doesn't get too puffed up in what they stand for.
So it's all about, really, it comes down to motive. It comes down to, you got to caution. You have to be cautious because, first of all, your heart, like I said, is wicked and deceitful. So there are times where you might get influenced in a way that isn't, it isn't good. And there's ways to go about certain art, because certain art you can't study because they are just straight up pornographic even with their music. Like, you can't even, there's no way to get around certain things, but
there's certain
but
songs
not all
that
of it
I wouldn't
like
recommend
that.
Listening, even if you are studying.
I mean, and even if you're Christian, you have those convictions. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to be super cautious about it. It all comes down to the motive of your own heart. It all comes down to your own understanding of yourself. For certain people, like, nah, you can't. You flat out just can't even do it. For certain people. For some people, like, when I first became a believer, like, I put the mic down entirely. Yeah. And I walked away.
I was with you.
Entirely. And I didn't even care. I didn't even care to, like, I don't care about the music wasn't even a thing for me. I just put the mic down, straight up walked away, and just, You know, I didn't care about rapping or any of that. And I was just studying, like just straight up, just studying the scriptures and you know, my theology, just learning, diving into that. And then it wasn't until a year after where I got introduced to Christian hip hop, and then I was like, okay, maybe, you know, now and then the Lord just put that desire back in my heart because I didn't have it. And when someone introduced me to that, I don't know what it was. I was just like, oh wow, you could do this, and then and then we got in the booth and we started doing our thing. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
But before that, like, it wasn't even, like, for some people, like I said, for some people do, like, some people mature. 7.
Yep.
7 is retiring, and part of that is because of his family. He did a post saying, you know, I want to be there with my family. I really don't want to be doing this and dropping one more album and he's out. That's for him. That was his own conviction. That was his thing.
7 is nice.
So you have, you know, it all comes down to your own convictions. It all comes down to maturity. It all comes down to your motive. I think it really just comes down to that, because we can't front like, you know, like we can't learn from secular art. We can't front like as a creative or anything that we do, really. I mean, we go to universities all the time. That's secular university.
That's
secular education. Right?
Exactly.
You're trying to be a lawyer, you're trying to be a doctor, you go and you get, you know, the education you need.
Yep. I mean, a lot of even college, even like psychology, stuff like that, they talk about religion, how it's not really a thing. It's just something that the humans created to cope with their emotions and feelings. So, and you need that class. Let's say you need that class to pass. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You need this class to pass in order to get your degree. But yet you're in this secular class where they're straight up telling about Christians being like, it's a fake thing.
Yeah.
It's just something that they created to cope with their emotions and all that. I've spoken to people studying psychology.
What up, Dave? What up, Frankie? Go ahead, man.
Where they were saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like they were like, yo, man, this is crazy.
Yo, you guys can chime in too whenever you want. Just chime in, say some things, man. Let us know what's up.
Seriously, yo, if you guys have questions or something you guys want us to talk about, you know, definitely give us some comments.
Or if you disagree even.
Or if you disagree,
you know, like,
yeah,
go ahead, say
you ain't gotta agree with us.
Say it. We hashing it out.
But yeah, like, you know what I mean. Like there's situations like that, or if you're at a job, you know what I mean. This is your work, and you got people talking about Christianity in a derogatory way. You could quit your job because now, you know what I'm saying, they're talking bad about Christian faith. Like, you know, it's a secular job. The secular job is paying you. Like, how do you navigate? It's all about discernment. If the job is making you sin, then that's a whole nother situation. Now you quit.
Yeah.
But we have to try to not be so sensitive.
And there's maturity with that too, because I wouldn't just, you know, like if my daughters or my son was like trying to be at his age, like in their age, trying to be some kind of singer or some kind of rapper, I'm not gonna be like, yo, you gotta study the best and throw the headphones in their ear. I wouldn't do that. Like it really comes down to maturity. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Just like Paul said, if what I'm doing is gonna cause my brother to be a stumble, then don't do it. Simple as that. Or same for you. Like if you know listening to this style of music is gonna cause you to stumble for whatever reason, maybe it brings you memories to your sinful days, and now you just now desiring that life again because you're listening to the same music you used to listen to, then I suggest that music is not for you.
Right.
You should not be listening to secular music, period, because it's causing you to sin or it's causing you to desire to sin.
So what if I threw this at you? Ready? Here's Romans 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God and what is good and acceptable and perfect. So do not be conformed to this world. Do you think that studying secular art and utilizing their techniques, right, or their strategies or whatever, I'm not talking content-wise. I'm just strictly talking, you know, the way they spit, maybe cadence, things that you never done yourself, and or for you singing, like harmonies coming in here, or whatever. Do you think that that's conforming to the world? Like, what are your thoughts on that? If somebody gave you that scripture, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't, because to me it's an exercise, if you will.
Yeah.
If let's say a singer sings a note or a riff that I really like, and I'm like, yo, that riff is crazy, I'm not really taking his content. I'm not taking any information from what he's talking about. All I'm all I'm trying to work on is my vocal ability. So I'm using that song and the way he uses vocal ability and trying to apply it to myself. Like, how much range do I have? Or what can I do with this voice that God has given me? And if I see someone who's better than me do something I can't do, I'm going to try to do it. To me, is no different than a coach teaching me weightlifting skills. Do I care whether he's Christian or not? If he's teaching me how to lift a barbell, I'm like, is this advice coming from Christianity or is this advice coming from, like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. It's advice about my body. He's teaching me something.
Right.
Only difference is that I don't have the opportunity to talk to these artists.
That's the thing.
But I can still learn from them.
The difference, though, is with somebody who's teaching you to work out, he's not like these rappers. When you listen to them, they already have a conclusion. Like, they have a message. They have an agenda.
Some of the bodybuilders do too. They're over sexualized. They want to market to women. They're showing their six pack because they want to be forefront.
Like your Instagram.
My Instagram has no ab shots. None. No ab shots.
That's because you ain't got the abs yet, but you know.
It's true.
Well, what happens with the abs?
Stay tuned for the ab shots.
Oh, stay tuned. give him the at.
But you know what I mean, man.
I guess.
But you guess.
Go ahead. Now keep going.
I'm just saying. There's the advice is what I'm taking. I'm not taking his lifestyle. I'm not taking anything.
But that's a great. You know what? That's a great subject that you just talked about. Fitness. That's another one. You're right. So like right now, that's like the thing. Well, I think
it's always been a thing,
yeah,
but now it's more
like,
visible because of
on
Instagram and all that.
Especially on Instagram. Yeah. Everybody's a bodybuilder on Instagram.
Everybody's a bodybuilder. Bodybuilder, photographer, and model. Yeah. Those are the three right there.
Yeah. We know a model actually on Instagram. G Wiz.
Shout out to G Wiz.
Gee whiz. So anyway, sorry to take you off track. So you're right about that though. So again, motive and maturity. Like what if you got fit and then you got so excited that you sort of in your mind and in your heart you're like, yo, I wanna kind of show off. You know what I'm saying? Like that really comes down to motive. I can't tell you, yo, man, you wore that shirt because look at it. Like I can't tell you why you did the things that you did.
Yeah. Maybe
I can point certain things out to you. Like, yo, Gil, you know, you shouldn't show your gut. You ain't got a six pack yet.
Men ain't supposed to wear belly shirts, bro.
Men ain't supposed to wear belly shirts, brother. But I can't tell you. I can't tell you your motive. You get what I'm saying? And you know what? Yeah. A lot of cats, like a lot of solid brothers that I know, they also listen to secular hip hop too. And again, it comes down to what is the song about? Like, are you honestly studying to learn the craft? There's ways to go around the foul language. There's ways to go around that. Yep. You don't even need to listen to stuff that has that kind of stuff because there's radio. We got commercial type a platform that we can listen to and we can study that. But I'm just saying, like, you do need to be cautious. Obviously, our hearts are wicked and deceitful, and we can be influenced in different ways. Maturity is a thing to factor in as well. But at the end of the day, you can enjoy secular art recreationally, but we're talking about studying just to better your craft. And my point to this is not now we have to study, a song that's pornographic or super like blasphemous.
There's always gonna be.
You got to be wise in what you study.
Person that is gonna go way left and be like, all right, so what about the Lil Wayne's new track and that he's overly vulgar. This is what we're talking about. You have to practice discernment. Like, you're not gonna go nuts and start listening to every single thing. First and foremost, you need to
Frankie
choose what you are going to listen to.
Manny?
Why? What is your motive behind it? What are you studying exactly? Like, formulate your thoughts before you do anything, even outside of music. But if you are going to dabble into studying art, you should probably already predetermine why you're going to do it. What is the purpose? You know what I mean? Like, have all those things lined up in your mind and mentally prepare yourself before you start just diving into anything secular, to be honest.
What about movies?
Movies in what way?
Let's say I'm a director and I want to study, movies to be a better director or whatever. I'm a videographer. I'm a cinematographer. I want to study. What would you say to that?
Well,
I like action movies. I want to do action movies or whatever. Like, what would you say to that? Would you say Saving Private Ryan is a secular movie that Christians shouldn't watch? Oh, that's good. Frankie, you still in here? I want to answer from you.
He's from the military, too.
Hey, Frankie's from the military. Hey, yep. Frankie, I hope you're still in here. Shout out to Wrath and Grace Radio. Frankie is the host on Wrath and Grace Radio. I would love to hear from another podcast radio host. What do you think, Frankie? Is watching Saving Private Ryan sinful?
Honestly, Saving Private Ryan, isn't that based on a true story? I mean, either way. I mean, it's telling a story about...
Frankie says, what's good, fellas, and be continually searching your own heart and motives.
Facts. That's a fact. Saying.
That's a fact. So
Saving Private Ryan, I mean, for me, I would say no.
It's more historical,
it's
right?
Historical.
But it is like they try to make it entertaining for people too, but it is a...
sadly, us as humans, we like to see death, unfortunately.
I don't believe it's sinful. Frankie says he don't believe it's sinful. But then there's certain things, like if I'm a videographer and I like history, let's say, and I'm gonna be like, I love like military types history, and I follow that government type history, but I'm a cinematographer. That's my thing. And you watch it just for the sake of learning how to, unfold this story or whatever, get these shots or whatever. And there actually was some really cool techniques that they did use in Saving Private Ryan, actually. And that's some geeky stuff I won't get into, but they actually did use some stuff. Hold on one second, my bad. But so Frankie's saying just for the sake of watching it, not even studying it, that he doesn't think it's sinful, but it could be. He's saying, I don't believe it's sinful, but it could be. If you're somebody who likes glorifying death, right? For somebody that might be. That's what Frankie's saying. It could be like for somebody that might be something that triggers something, and they need to.
That's where we would exercise our discernment, just like anything else. Exactly. If you used to be an alcoholic, you probably shouldn't chill at a bar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So no different in movies, music, and everything. If you are a person who struggled with pornography or sex and things like that, then listening to R&B music that overly sexualizes women,
or watching the videos,
or watching the music videos is probably not the best idea.
Right. Facts.
And if I know you're my brother and I know you struggle with that, and you're like, yo, I'm gonna listen to this Bryson Tiller track. You know what I mean? I'm gonna study his music videos because I'm really trying to be a dope artist. I'm gonna be like, brother, I probably would highly recommend you don't do that because remember, man, you struggle with kind of sexuality and all that stuff.
You know what I would tell him?
But
you know what I would tell him? I would tell him, listen to Gilbert Vargas.
Oh my God. Listen, okay, that's a little bit of undertone in there. Why would you say listen to Gil Vargas?
Yo, Frankie said they may have anger issues and enjoy watching people die. Probably shouldn't be watching it. That's a fact, Frankie. See, again, it comes down to maturity and motive.
Yeah,
That's
understanding
your
boundaries.
Hold up, Manny got a question. Manny, but wouldn't it be what the watcher or listener takes from the movie or music? That's a fact too. So influence, what you're talking about, Manny, is influence. If it's something that influences you, I mean, let's be real. There's the amp me up music.
Yep.
There's the unwind, sit down, forget about everything music. There's the in the whip, going on a family trip, about to dip.
He's about to rap. He's about to drop a 16. Dang. Man, that right there is rapper tendency. If you got friends that are rappers, you know that every now and then they start having regular conversations.
I'd rather have rapper tendencies.
And somehow they start slipping in rhymes. And you're like, you just rhymed to me?
I'm about to go on a family trip. But I'm saying, like, you got the...
Actually, they got the pool and take a dip.
Oh. Just don't strip. Keep that on.
I told my kid, don't flip. Like,
get a grip.
You're like, man, this dude is straight rhyme. Can you stop rhyming for like 5 seconds?
All right. So... My bad. All right, cool.
Making me start rhyming. It's not just turned into a musical.
Oh man, we're live. We can't cut. We can't cut. Oh, speaking of which, that's another thing I study. I'm not gonna go out and just condone all the things that I study, but I want to be real here. I'm sure we're all mature here. I think you got to click over 18 on Facebook, right? Something like that. I think we're potentially Manny. We could both be listening to the same movie or song, and it could affect us both differently, and that's a
very
fact.
True, Frankie.
Frankie's on point, man. We need another co-host.
That's why he's on a podcast.
We need another co-host.
We need another co-host.
We start taking Wrath of Grace.
Oh my God! Secretly.
No, but what were we talking about?
You said there was something else that you do, but you didn't really finish.
Oh yeah. Oh good. Thank you. So I watch other podcasters, secular podcasters, and a lot of times when I watch to see, I watch to try to improve our show and what we're doing. What kind of microphones they're using, what kind of mixer they have, how do they conduct their show, we could watch both something and receive to different things from it. May see it in one way or another. Yeah. So what Frankie's saying, man, is that pretty much, you could watch the same thing and you guys can get affected by the same thing differently in different ways. It all comes down to motive and knowing your own heart. And being cautious. The Bible tells us that each person is tempted by their own lustful desires. Something that may tempt me, might not tempt you. That's Frankie. That's a fact. That's a fact. Thank you, Frankie, man. I appreciate that. I agree with Frank. Yeah, that's a fact.
That's a fact.
So what they're saying is that it affects people differently. You got to know yourself. You need to know first and foremost. I keep stressing this. I guess this is what it comes down to. Really,
wisdom.
Your own, wisdom in your own heart. Like we gotta know right from the jump. We trying to set ourselves up. Right from the jump. You know what I mean? Like we can't trust our own hearts. We're trying to set ourselves up, and we have to take caution of those things, and we need to make sure that we're guarded and we're going in with the right motives and prayer and wisdom, accountability. Of course, all these things that are practical things that we should know about and be aware of. You know what I mean?
Again, just to recap. We're not telling people to go out and start listening to
all
a
this
bunch of secular stuff.
Nasty, filthy, yeah.
And listen to all this filthy language.
Yeah.
That's not what we're saying. You know what I mean? You have
Jose, what up?
You have to practice discernment. You have to practice your own heart and discernment. Yeah, these are all things you have to do continuously. Right. But if you're taking secular art and you're using it purely for the reason of learning format, learning delivery, cadence, beat styles, things of that nature. Honestly, I don't see anything wrong. No different than looking at a painter and looking at the brushes he uses, the types of canvas he uses, the types of colors and the textures he uses. No different. You're not saying, "Wow, I want to paint naked people like he does."
Right.
No, if you want to take what he uses and all those styles and the techniques and start creating your own art that glorifies God, but you took your tips from someone secular, I personally can't say that person is being sinful. I'm sorry. And if there's somebody on here that thinks I'm wrong or thinks differently, please, I would love to know, and I want your opinion as well. Just don't say I disagree.
So that's why, like, when you were studying Beyonce and you were trying to hit those notes, that's why I was like, go ahead, man. Like,
it wasn't just her notes. It was just the,
Oh, yeah. It was definitely the move.
The moves, too.
I still want to share some verses because I'm sure people are going to, use verses. Let me see. I have some verses that I put down here. It says, let me see. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them, for it is shameful to even speak of the things they do in secret. What do you think? Take no part of it. What do you think for that verse? Like, it's shameful to even speak of these things. Like, why are we gonna even listen?
But these are I think the context
secular.
of this is actual the acts of sin. So if the person in the song or whatever is talking about getting drunk and doing all these different drugs or whatever, and you start doing drugs and doing the same thing, now you are taking part in what they're doing.
Yeah.
But if you're like, nah, I'm not with that, but the way he flowed that and the sound that he used over his voice, the reverb or the little auto-tune thing he did, that sounded pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think I want to try that on my voice
Right.
and see how that sounds.
Right.
You completely ignored the fact that he talked about that nonsense, but what you took away from it is his delivery, the auto-tune. You took just the style, and you are now trying to make it your own. Honestly, I don't see that. For me, I don't see, to get this clear, I don't see secular and Christian. All I see is art. Whether it's Christian or not, it's art. What can I take from it to make my art better?
Right.
See, the difference between my artistry and a secular's artistry is I have a goal to glorify God with my art. But in the art of itself, art is art. I'm sorry. It's just, what is the motive behind that person?
Now, let me ask you this. Let's say that's your profession as an artist, and you utilize it to spread the good news.
Say that one more time.
You have your profession as an artist, and you utilize it to spread the good news. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Let's say you sign to a secular label, and they're telling you, we want you to spit just regular stuff, not that religious stuff, but you don't have to like be cussing or anything like that. But we'll sign you, but you got to just talk regular stuff.
I don't see nothing wrong with that either. As long as I'm not speaking anything against my faith or anything that I disagree with, and it's just positive music, I don't feel that I have to talk about God in every single thing I do. I mean, I work for a company that has to do with water. I don't go to people's houses and say, well, before I service you, you need to hear the gospel. You know what I mean? There's a time and place for everything. But if there's a moment while I'm servicing a customer that I'm able to give the gospel, of course, I'll take that opportunity. But I'm not going to be overtly Christian every single moment of my life, everywhere I go, and jeopardize
in your job,
in my job,
what
and what I do. Like, that's not. There's a time and place. There's appropriateness, and then there's unappropriateness. You know what I mean?
So, in that sense, what do you think about Colin Kaepernick and what he's done to stand up for what he believes?
Wow. I mean, that right there is a real big thing, especially with the new Nike commercial. I don't know if you guys have seen the new Nike commercial, where Nike is now behind Colin Kaepernick amongst other athletes, and their campaign is about social injustice and bringing light to
Oh, we froze. Keep talking.
That exactly, social injustice. Honestly, what I took from it is, can Christians be that bold where we're willing to lose? I mean, not can we? Do we? Do we have that same, gall, for the lack of a better word, to really go that far where we'll lose everything to proclaim Christ? At least that's what I thought. So I was convicted by the story. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I was convicted because the dude went so hard for this social injustice topic and bringing light to it and really showing America that there is unfairness happening in the black community, that he lost his career in football. He lost endorsement deals. He pretty much lost his dream that he's always wanted to do for the sake of standing up for something that he really believed in. So honestly, that's crazy to me.
So what do you think? Like, do you agree or what?
I agree in standing up for what you believe in. I don't know if I would have went about it the same way as him, honestly. But then again, that is his platform that he has. So he used his platform that was given to him in the best way that he could. Me personally, I don't know if I would be able to do that exactly the way he did it. So I agree with that part that yes, we should stand up for what we believe in, especially being Christians and having the truth. I highly 100% agree with we should have that same goal.
Okay, guys, if you're still in here, the camera's paused. Let me just say this real quick. The camera's paused, but that's fine. People are saying you can still hear us. That's completely fine. I got a guest coming in to talk more about this right now. So bear with me real quick.
Yeah, Mario's refreshing right now. He's hard at work.
Yeah, it might not refresh the camera, but that's fine. If you guys can still hear us, still rock with us. Hold on 1 second. Let us know too that you can still hear us. I'm still messing around with this real quick. Hold on. I got a guest coming in, a very special guest. I'm going to bring him in right now.
I don't even know who it is, and I'm on the show.
He don't even know who it is. Let's see if he's here. Let's see if my guest is here.
Frankie, love you, bro. Mr. DeAndre Morales was good.
Yeah, so we still here. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Hold on one second.
Glad to have you here with us, bro.
Yeah. I'm just bringing in the guests right now, all right? This is something that we're doing. This is something new.
Yeah, we've never done this before.
So keep us in prayer.
We're about to bring somebody on.
Yo.
Hello. No idea.
Hello, anybody there? You see that?
Mr. Hazakim.
You see that?
Huh? Tony from Hazakim Brothers.
Today we got Tony Hazakim up in here. I don't know if he's with us, though. Hello, Tony. I brought in some reinforcements for this subject specifically. He should be jumping in.
You can't refresh the video?
I could try. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know.
Sorry for the pause, guys. Mario's still working on trying to get our guest on here so we can have a little live discussion with our caller. Well, the image came up, he said. So you guys can see the image of Tony Hazakim.
Oh, it's telling me I gotta.
Sorry about this. We're clearly live.
Yo, what up, everybody?
We are clearly live.
Too, and it's
That's
telling
crazy.
me I gotta actually call in for him. I'm gonna call in right now.
All right, give him a call, bro.
I'm gonna call in for the meeting. Hold on.
Tony of Hazakim.
So keep talking about that subject though.
So how you know those that are still with us, you know, how you guys feel about the whole Colin Kaepernick ordeal? Do you guys agree with Colin Kaepernick? Do you guys think that he's crazy for sacrificing his career in football and commercials and thankfully Nike picked him up and he's doing his thing and he's fighting, he's fighting for what he believes in. But what do you guys think? And how do you guys feel it relates to our faith? Should we fight to the point where we lose everything? Should we go to our bosses and just give them the gospel? You know what I'm saying? Harshly, just in their face. Just waiting to see if anybody comments back on this.
Tony. Hello.
What's going on, Joff Griffiths? So far we've discussed, the relationship between secular and Christianity and how we can navigate through that space and learn from them, but not so much as the context and, the things that they're glorifying, but just purely learning from the art. And now we've segued into now talking about Colin Kaepernick and how he is, fighting for social injustice and how that relates to Christianity. Like, how can we take something that is secular and use it in a sense for us or learn from it? Like, what can we do differently?
Okay, so it seems like he's not logged in yet. And we run into a few technical difficulties, but I did have Tony Hazakim that was going to jump in and give us a little bit more perspective on the subject because I know he's passionate about it. And unfortunately, I'm not able to get him connected. So my bad. I apologize, everybody, about that.
It went dark. So
yeah, it went dark. That's completely fine. That's all right. As long as y'all can hear me, that's cool. I can't really get the camera back up. Yeah, I really can't get the camera back up at this moment, because I need to refresh everything, which means I got to log off and then get back in. So I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going just about the whole topic that we were discussing about secular art. I think this is a good way to even close up even. I think, we got to the bottom of the subject. I think we could still study up on this subject and continue to study up together about this thing. And even after this, we could still pray about it and continue to talk about it. And maybe we'll circle back and talk about it a little bit further in the future. And if you guys want to hit us up for any topics that you guys want to discuss or anything that you guys want to talk about, hit us up at music@marrioesco.com, 2 R's in my name, and we can discuss those things that you guys want to chop it up about. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the motive of the heart. It comes down to your own maturity. It comes down to wisdom, accountability, and really just between yourself and your own convictions. So. I apologize, guys, man. I love you guys very much. What's going on? Tony is a beast on this subject. I know, Ryan, man. I definitely wanted to come. Maybe we could circle back next week if you guys are interested. Yeah, part 2, and I can get this working. I had this. I had this tested and ready to go.
No, man.
I had this tested and ready to go. And it's my bad, y'all. It's my bad, man. But that's all right, man. We on show 8, and the podcast is still gonna go. Show 7. Podcast is still gonna be up, so you guys can still listen along and hear from us. So I'm gonna keep testing this stuff and make sure that we can run this right. It really is just me and Gil doing our thing right now. We don't have a team behind the scenes. We're praying that we can add on some people that can help us behind the scenes with the camera, the audio, and everything like that. But I'm legit working the show. I'm legit working the audio. I'm legit working the camera and everything else as well. So, I mean, it's bound to happen at some point, technical difficulties. But
we love you guys for rocking with us.
Yeah, we love you guys. We appreciate it. And as long as we can get through on some kind of conclusion with the subject that we're talking about, man, I think we're good, man. What do you think, brother?
So what do you conclude in regards to the Colin Kaepernick, and we'll close it with that?
Oh, man, I wanted Tony to hop in. I was hoping that Tony would hop in and really give us some wisdom, man. I was super psyched to have Tony to come in, man. I really was. Now I got to hit him up and be like, yo, Tony, my bad. But I'm sure he'll jump in, man. Tony's my guy, bro. I love that guy. Shout out to Tony. Shout out to Hazakim. I know they're working on something. Actually, they got something in the works right now. So be on the lookout for them, brothers, doing their thing, man. We love your ministry, man. We love what y'all represent. I thank you guys so much for being willing to even jump on with us and talk to us. And my bad, I apologize up front to everybody listening, to also Hazakim as well. But we'll set it up. We'll set it up in the future. You know what I mean? Like, God is good, man. And we're gonna keep at it. We're gonna stick with it. And
yeah, man. I also wanted to do a shout out to Dayton, man. Homeboy's going through a lot on social media right now, so I just want to do a shout out to Dayton, man. I hope everything works out for you, bro. And everything that you're doing, and I heard you got hella hands out there.
Yeah, don't be stirring things up, man.
I love you, Dave, man. Just put the hands away, man.
Put the hands away.
We got you in prayer,
Put
brother.
the hands away.
You know what I'm saying? We love you.
Put them hands down.
And, man, I guess we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll get all this in order. But thank you guys for showing up.
Yeah, man, I might have to hit up Hazakim. He didn't even call in, so
It's straight. You know what I mean? He probably did, and we just having technical difficulties.
True. So listen, man, we love you guys. Like I said, man, hit us up, music@marrioesco.com, or hit me up on Facebook. That's fine. You can do that as well. And till next week, man, grace and peace. I love y'all, man. Take care. If you're listening on the podcast, be sure to check out my Facebook music page, Marrio Esco 1. Again, 2 R's in my name, the number 1 at the end, Marrio Esco 1. Be sure to like and follow that page because I like to give updates on who I'll be interviewing and leave a description on what we'll be talking about. And I also like the real-time one-on-one back and forth interaction. If you don't have the time to join us on Facebook Live, be sure to check out my podcast. It's called Marrio Esco Live, 2 R's in my name. Again, you'll see the white silhouette of myself with the cross underneath. Be sure to subscribe to that and follow the link as well to whatever podcast you're using or however you're receiving the podcast, and leave us a review. We love to hear feedback. You can also hit me up at music@marrioesco.com and just hit me up with some feedback and ways that we can improve the show or the things that you like and enjoy. Any type of feedback will be highly appreciated. Grace and peace.